Hey guys, I'm Dimension Jumper, and today I'll be doing my top 5 favorite Generation 8 Pokemon. Now, with Generation 8, they're being Sword and Shield, they have, I think, I think, when it comes to Pokemon in Sword and Shield, they have a good handful of Pokemon that I think are interesting and I think are cool in design, and some others I don't think are as good as other Pokemon that we've seen in other generations. And this video is just going to be me talking about some of my favourites that have been seen throughout both Sword and Shield. So for number 5 is Grimsnow. Now Grimsnow is this kind of like giant, I would say, kind of like almost humanoid behemoth of a Pokemon. Kind of, because it's basically this, because it's a very dark type. And it's kind of like this sort of like, kind of almost monster-like Pokemon. And I think that's what I think what makes Grimsnow such I think a kind of an intimidating Pokemon, because he has the dark and fairy type, and I think both types kind of feed into each other quite well, because it's got the sort of like the monster kind of physique, or the design wise I should say, with that being dark type, and kind of like sort of like and I think again, saying design wise, it's probably something you would see from a storybook or something like that. And I think that's where it gets its well, from my perspective, where it gets its fairy type from. And yeah, I do like the whole sort of like black, green, and pink kind of like combo, which I think is quite nice. And I do like the claws. I think the claws are quite cool, and yeah, I think it's one of those Pokemon that's very, very intimidating, and it's just one of those Pokemon that just feels intimidating and just like really cool and an awesome design. For number 4 is Dragapult. Now Dragapult is, and I think I think it's a fun looking design wise, because it's a ghost dragon type. I think it's the second ghost dragon type that we've had, with the first one being Giratina that we saw back in Generation 4, and the Dragapult line is a secondary, or the second lot of dragon ghost types that we've seen in the Pokemon series so far. And with Dragapult, what I like about the design is that it's got that ghostly and dragon combo, kind of like with Grimsnow with the whole fairy dark type, because like it's got like that ghostly like tail that it has, because the tail kind of like it's floating, and it's got that sort of like dragon sort of ghost tail to it, which I think is quite nice. And another thing that I quite like, it's got these sort of it's I think two of its first base evolutions like on its head. I think that's quite cool. I think that's an interesting use of having Pokemon of its generation, its evolutionary line being a part of the Pokemon itself. That's really fun and interesting, because you don't really see that with other Pokemon. The only thing I can kind of think of is the mouse Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet. That's the only other one that I can think of with having like multiple Pokemon of its evolutionary line kind of like combined into one. I think that's quite cool. But with Dragapult, I do like the whole dragon ghost type. I think that what makes this Pokemon very fun and interesting to me. So yeah. For number 3 is Dreadnought. Now, what I like about Dreadnought is that it looks like I believe some kind of snapping turtle, or somewhere along those lines, some kind of turtle. If not a snapping turtle, some other kind of turtle, or tortoise, or whatever. And I do like the whole water rock type, because it's got because the turtle has got like it obviously has the water type, and I do like how it's, because I think what makes it part of rock type as well is because of its, I think its shell, and I think another thing being its sort of bulky design to it. So I think that's what makes it cool. And yeah, I think I think the design as a whole is really interesting because it's got like, the sort of like horn on the top of its head, which is quite spiky, and then you've got a very powerful jaw to it, which I think its signature move is Lockjaw or Jaw Lock, which I think is a move that can deal damage but prevents Pokemon from escaping. I think that's quite cool. And you've got its main shell that it has, which looks very, very spiky. Like it's got like these jagged edges to it, and it's just I think it has a very nice color scheme because it's got some yellow, some blue. I think sort of orangey red to it. I think on its shell, and yeah, Dreadnought is a very very fun Pokemon, and I always use it for my playthroughs. For number 2 is Corviknight. Now, Corviknight, I would say, is probably up there. I would say is probably my top 3 favorite regional early route birds Pokemon because you can capture it as a Credilli. I forgot what the name of its first base form is. But with Corviknight, it's basically this giant raven-looking Pokemon, which is a flying steel type, and it's I think it's one of those Pokemon that was given the most amount of time of attention because it looks like this powerful giant bird Pokemon with the flying and steel typing, and it's just really fun. And I think its ability Pressure, well, it's got 2 abilities, with one of them being Pressure. I think with that ability specifically, I think it's a good use of the ability because you can just. I think because of Corviknight's design, it's meant to be one of those Pokemons that are meant to be intimidating, and just it's hard to explain because it's just this very. I think it looks like the most proud Pokemon. If you saw that like just flying about, it looks the most proud and noble of its of any other bird Pokemon, and I do like the whole like it kind of looks like it's puffing out its chest a bit, and where it's got like its fur around its chest, and I do like how it kind of like puffs out a bit, like kind of like a bird does. So yeah, I do really really love Corviknight. And for number 1 is Wulu. Now Wulu is probably one of my favourite Pokemon ever because it's based on a sheep, and I really really love sheep. Sheep is probably one of my favourite animals ever, and Wulu is just the pinnacle of Pokemon design. I'm probably being half joking, half not, half being sarcastic, half being not, because Wulu looks so adorable. It's basically this little fluffy not Pokemon. It is a Pokemon. This little fluffy sheep lamb Pokemon that you just want to hug, and it just rolls about all over the place. Because it looks so fluffy, and I just love its design. Just being this sheep that just rolls about and just has a nice day, just doing whatever Wulu do, and just. It looks so adorable, and I just love it. And with Double, it looks nice. I do enjoy Double. I think when it comes to both Double and Wulu, I prefer Wulu just because it's this little adorable little sheep Pokemon that can't do anything wrong. No harm can befall this Pokemon to me, and I really love Wulu. It's kind of like because I don't want to talk about this Pokemon too much because that's how much I love this Pokemon. I could probably talk about it for like an hour or so just because it looks so adorable. I just love these like little braid things that it has near its face, and I just love it. I just love the design. I just really love it because it's sheep, and I love a sheep. I love sheep. It's my favorite animal, and yeah, Wulu as a whole looks really really adorable. So yeah. So that's been my top 5 favourite Generation 8 Pokemon. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.